Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Style Guys. Thank you so much for stopping by. So if this is your first time, kindly subscribe to my channel. Yeah, thank you. And don't forget to turn on your notification bell. So today's tutorial we'll be talking on how to draft and sew this underbust corset top and putting on. So that's what today's tutorial will be. So it's going to be in two parts. Part one is going to be the drafting of the patterns, drafting. Then part two is going to be the sewing proper. Alright, so stay tuned. Alright, so now we're talking on how to make this top, this underbust corset top. The first thing I'm going to be marking is the full length of my top. Alright, so I'll be working with 23 inches as the full length of my top. Let me say I'm working with 22 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be marking this. This is my start point, which is going to serve as the shoulder. Alright, now the next thing I'm going to be doing is, remember, it's going to be having a zip in front, so I'm going to be marking my zipper allowance. You can decide to work with 1 inches, 1.5 inch, or 1.25 inches as your zip allowance, but I'm working with 1.25 inches for my zip allowance. After which I'll connect the dots together. Alright, now the next thing to do is I'm going to be marking my shoulder. So from here now I'm going to be marking, starting my shoulder measurements. Alright, so my shoulder is 7.5 inches. You divide your shoulder measurement by 2. Mine is 15 divided by 2 is giving me 7.5, and this is it. I will start my neck width, which is 3 inches. Alright, so from this my shoulder measurement now come down by 1 inch. Down. This 1 inch is to enable us create a slope for our shoulder. Remember, our shoulder is now on a straight form. So this is our shoulder slope here. Alright, then from this point now I'll come down by 7.5 inches. This is going to be my armhole. We're trying to create an armhole measurement, an armhole curve. Then I'm going to divide my 7.5 into 2. This is what I have. Then from here now I'm going to still mark 7.5 again. Then connect it from this 1 inch down to this point. I'm going to connect the two of them together. Alright, then make a line out. This will serve as my chest line, C L. This is my chest line. Then now coming over to my armhole, I'll place my tape back. This is what I have, 7.5 inches. I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch here. This is to enable me create my curve, armhole curve, and I'm going to be using my curve tool. Now this is how I placed it to create my curve. So this is what I have. We have created our armhole curve. These are shoulders, shoulders. These are armhole. Alright. Now the next we are going to be marking now is we're going to place our tape back to the shoulder again. You're going to be marking 10 inches. That is your bust point. My bust point is 10 inches. Your own might be 9, your own might be 11 or 12. Depends on your size. So mine is 10 inches. I marked 10. And the next thing I'm going to be marking on this line now is my underbust measurements. That's from shoulder to underbust. These things we are inserting now is just the vertical measurements, not the horizontal measurements. Alright. So this is what I have. Then I'm going to make rule across. Then another line I'm going to be marking, horizontal line I'm going to be marking, is my waist measurement. So where it's stopping, I'm going to be using it as my waist measurement. Or better still, you can mark 16 inches as your waist measurement. That is your half length. Alright, so this is my 16 inches, which is going to serve as my waist measurement. That's from the shoulder to 16 is my waist measurement. So when you're done, you label it. So this is our bust point VP, this is our under bust, and this is our waistline. Then this is the hem of our top. Alright, now we're done with this. The next thing we'll be starting now is our horizontal measurements. So now, coming to the chest line and bust, coming to the bust point. Alright, so with the bust measurement I'm working with, you measure your bust measurement to be sure of what you are working with. Alright, so I'm working with 34 inches, which is 8.5. When you divide it by 4, quarter of it, you mark it. I'll come to my under bust measurement. What do I have as my under bust? You measure your under bust measurement. Mine is 29, and I'll be having 8.25. I'll be having 7.25 inches. I'll mark it. Same thing goes to my waist measurements. Whatever you have, you mark it down. Alright. Then for this hem, I'm going to be using my upper hip. What you have as your upper hip, not your main actual hip measurements. You'll be using your upper hip measurements for it. So my upper hip is 36, which is 9 inches. I'm going to mark it down. Alright. Then I'm going to be connecting it together. Then for this chest line, what I have on my bust point, that's what I'm going to still mark on my chest line. So connect it down, connect the points together. Alright, so this is what the top looks like. It's forming, but we are yet to get there. Then after which you add your seam allowance. You can decide to add 1.5 or 2 or 1 inch. I'm working with 1.5 inch for my seam allowance. So this is what I have. Alright, then now we'll now be talking about the neck area. Alright, so now I'm going to be placing my tape back to my start point. Okay, now how deep do you want your neck to be? This is a V neck. You can decide to keep it at your under bust, you can decide to keep it on your chest line, you can decide to keep it on your bust points. The choice is totally yours. It depends on how open you want your business to be, how open you want the cleavage to be. So the choice is totally yours. For me, I'll be keeping mine at my bust point, or quarter inch below my bust point. I don't want it to be exposed, so I'm working with quarter inch below my bust point. So now I'm going to be connecting it. So this is my neck width at 3, and I'm going to be connecting it to my quarter inch below my bust point. So this is what I'm going to have. So if you want it to be at your under bust, what you have to do, just the same thing, you connect from here to your under bust. It's totally on you. So this is where our zip is going to be starting from. So now we have no business with this upper side. So I'm going to mark it like this is going off. Then this is our zip. This is the major area we're working with. Then coming back, what we are going to be marking now is our darts. That is our nipple to nipple. So the nipple to nipple I'm working with is 4 inches. I'm going to mark my 4 inches. And 4 inches. So this nipple to nipple is starting from the underbust down. It has no business from this underbust up, okay, because I'm going to be doing a little bit spread and slash here. So this is what I have. So this is going down to this point. Then the next thing I'm going to be doing to this area now is it's going to be having a little bask. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be marking 3 inches down from here. I'm going to be adding extra 2 inches. Let me use the center point. I'll be adding extra 3 inches. I want to talk about how I arrived at this bask area because my video. So now what I did was to add 3 inches from this hemline. Though I added 3 inches, all right, 3 inches. Then from this point, now this point of the hemline, this side point, I came up by 1 inch here. Okay, then I now connected it using a rule. So from this 1 inch I came up by, I connected it to my 3 inches to form my bask. All right, this first one was a discard, so it didn't really come out well. So that was why I had to come up by 1 inch here and 3 inches down to form a perfect bask. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to cut it. So this is just the cutting part of this. This is the armhole area. Alright, so this is what I have. Okay, so now the next thing to do is these points now. So now I'm going to be also cutting this part out. Alright, so this is going to be the down part and this is going to be the upper part. Then I'll go ahead and slash the points in between. Alright, so this is what I have here. Then this is my zip. This particular ponytail is my zip. So this is what I have. Alright, and this is the upper part of my pattern. The next thing I'm going to be doing to this upper part of the pattern now is I'm going to be dividing my shoulder into 2. Okay, half of my shoulder. What do I have from half of my shoulder? So now I'm going to place my tape and get half of my shoulder. So this is half of my shoulder, alright? Now I'm going to connect it down to this point. So this is half of my shoulder. I want to slash it. Okay, so I'll go ahead and slash half of my shoulder. Now the slashing, you're not going to get to the shoulder points entirely. Okay, I'm going to be leaving a few inches before the point. Then I'm going to bring another pattern paper, another piece of paper, and place it in between to give me a perfect slash here. So now I'm going to be talking about this splash. I've splashed it already. It's now the spreading method. So you can decide to make the spreading to be, let me say, 3 inches wide or 2 inches. Depends on how wide you want it to be. So I'm working with 3 inches. Okay. I'm going to spread that to 3 inches. That's how wide that is. Now I'm going to be taping it down using this tape rule. Sorry, using this solo tape. So now this is for my back piece. This is the pattern paper for my back piece. Now the front piece, remember when we were marking the full length or the hemline, we used 22 inches. But for the back now, I'm going to be using 21 inches. Remember we reduced 1 inch from the side, so I'll be able to make a perfect bask. So that's why I now use 21 inches for this, so as the sizes will match up together. And the basic body, this is just the normal thing, or the same thing we did for the front. That's what I did here. This is the shoulder slope, the armhole curve, the chest line, the bust point, the underbust, and our hem. Alright, so that's what we have here. So just like how you inserted your measurement to the other one, that's the same thing we're going to be doing here. And we also be inserting your 1.5 inch or 2 inches seam allowance. Okay, so I'm working with 1.5 inch. Then the waistline. So it's totally the same thing we did. That's what we are also transferring to this, right? So then, as usual, we'll also be cutting out from the underbust. You can decide to work with it this way, it's totally fine. You can decide to splash it, that cuts out this way, cut it out. You can decide to work with it as bold as it is here without any cuts. So whichever one you want, the choice is totally yours. But for me, I was working with it together. I'm not cutting or spreading anything. Right? Then for our neck depth for our back, our neck depth is going to be 2 inches. Okay. Then I'm going to make my neck curl. And I'll go ahead and cut it down. So this is what I have for my back. Remember, we're going to be cutting on a fold. There's not going to be any join at the back, there is not going to be any zip at the back. The zip you're working with will be in the front. Alright. So this is what we're going to do. These African prints, and these are my pattern papers. I'll go ahead and transfer it to my fabric.